Hi guys, this is IVR and I'm at the How to Military show. And since I brought a lot of stuff like binoculars, I thought I'm just going to make a quick video explaining the details and the differences between early war, mid-war and late war variations. So over here I have a bunch of 6x30 glasses, all standard. They're called Dienstglas. And these are all made by the same manufacturer. So the manufacturer of these glasses is Bosch, and they were stationed in Rathenau, which you can see here. So Bosch is quite a good manufacturer. They made very high quality glasses, and this is the first variation that they made. So if we check the details on this one, we can see that on the left side there is a company logo, company name Bosch, and Rathenau, the city where they were stationed. Then on the other side we see Dienstglas, designation of what the item is. 6x30, that's 6 times magnification and an objective lens of 30 millimeters. Then the serial number and the H6400 marking, which is a marking that means the binocular has a Strichplatte, which is German for rangefinder. So I have another video explaining how that works. Then we can also see on the oculars that they are very detailed, with 0 to 5 and increments with a plus and a minus sign. And as well on the axle here we can see the degrees, which go from 60 to 70 and a little bit beyond. And a nice axle cap with a retainer screw. Then on the other side, on the objective side, we can see there's also an axle cap with a retainer screw, and there's 3 screws on the plates. Also on the other side, also 3 screws. Those are all distinctive features of the very early pre-war Dienstglas 6x30. Then if we check the start of the war and mid-war variation, that's this one. Now we can see some minor differences. We can see, one more thing on this one. We can see that the retainer screws for the ocular have a protective ring. So we can see the screws right there, and they're protected by this ring. So that's one more detail that I just kind of forgot about, but that's there as well. So then if we see this one, that ring is missing. That's the first detail. Then we can see the maker marking here, as well as the Dienstglas markings and the 6x30 serial number and the H6400. The difference is that the factory marking is now changed to the ordnance code. So for Bosch, that's CXN. We can also see a circle, which means the binocular is rated for cult fat. And the circle, I believe, is mid-war. I'm not 100% sure. I have a list that shows all the grease markings, so I'm not 100% sure, but it does mean that it's rated for, I think, -40 to +50 degrees Celsius. And those grease markings were put on there, which means they were either refurbished or they came out of the factory with this type of grease. And then we can still see the axle cap on the front with the 60 and 70 markings, as well as the retainer screw. And we can also see the same thing on the other side, just like the pre-war variation. But one major difference is the coating. So the pre-war variation has a fake leather coating here. I'm not quite sure what the name is. I think I heard it somewhere, but I can't remember. It is, however, a fake leather coating. Then over here we have a paint coating. Textured paint, which feels really nice and is really nice to use. But it's cheaper than leather or fake leather. So that's also one cost measure that they took. Then if we go to the late war variation, now we see another paint coating, which is apparently even cheaper than the other one. We see no more protection ring on the ocular. We see no more markings on the ocular screw ring there. It's just a very faint plus and minus. It's very hard to see, but you can see a plus right there. And on the other side, a minus right there. So there is something, but it's barely there. Then we see on the left side, there's no more factory marking. It's just completely gone. It's empty. And on the other side we see the Dienstglas marking, 6x30 marking serial number, And then we see the factory marking, which is CXN obviously for this one, and the plus grease coat, which is later than the circle. So that's also an indication that this glass was made later than the other glass. Then we also see no more axle cap here. We see a circle there, which is the screw hole for the retainer screw. This is not present on some other late war glasses. Like for example this one right here, this is DDX. It's also a little bit late war, and we can see there's no axle cap and there's no screw as well. So it just depends on the manufacturer if they still made the screw holes or not, but the axle cap is 100% missing. As well as on this side, no more axle cap. So those are kind of the main differences between pre-war, early war and late war variations of the Dienstglas. And I have a whole bunch here. This is another late war. For example, this is a BMK with a triangle. Now I can't remember if the plus or the triangle is more late, but either one is more late, so I believe it's a triangle. So this one is very late war. We can see the coating has some red hues to it. I've also never seen that before, so BMK used another special coating that was probably cheaper than leather. We can see the axle cap doesn't even have a screw hole anymore. So you can't even put an axle cap on this one. And of course the protector ring is missing. The markings on the ocular are missing, although we do see a plus and a minus there. So there are slight differences between manufacturers, but in a broad sense, those are the differences between pre-war, start of the war, and late war variations of the Dienstglas. Then we also have a bunch of accessories, and I have a few here. So we start with pre-war variation of case, and that's this one. How do we know it's pre-war? We can tell by the marking, it's A-Lights Wetzlar. So that's not the ordnance code, but it's the stamping of the factory. I hope you can tell that it's there. That means that it's pre-war. Then on the other side, we have a very small, well not really small, but closed wings eagle Waffenamt stamped right there. It's very faint, but it's there. I have another one here, I can maybe show it a little bit better. Oh. This one might be a little bit better to see here. We can see the closed wings eagle. In this case was made by Hensoldt, also in Wetzlar. So these cases are made in the same time period, both pre-war. Those were leather. Then over here, this is the wartime variation, which was made with black bakelite. So this is marbled bakelite in black. This one is complete with leather straps, at least that's what many people say. These are not leather, these are made of paper. So the material was called Preststoff, and because it's paper instead of leather, leather can be maintained, so the leather would be nice, or could be nice after this time, like we see with some items. But this Preststoff, because it's paper, is dried out. It's almost always dried out, so you need to be very careful, it will rip very easily. Be very careful, don't pull it. Usually there's a pull tab here, which we can see on this one, that's also Preststoff. So do not pull this. What I always do to open one of these cases is you grab it here, pull it down, and then you can open it very easily because this is made of steel. Close it again if you want. Never pull it here because you will rip the paper. So that's the standard variation of the carrying case. And of course I just showed it already. This one is the exact same variation, except it's made with red bakelite. So the red bakelite marbled variation like this one is much more rare, much more liked on their collectors, and frankly it just looks much prettier. If you take a close-up of this marbling, it just looks really nice. I very much like this case. So those are the standard differences between the carrying cases. Then carrying case has loops here, and those loops are for the carrying strap. And I have an original one right here. The carrying strap is very long, so you can put it on your shoulder. It has a normal clasp here. It has the belt loop right there. And this side, this is the side where it's attached to the loop on the case. So this goes on this loop with this small extension. So what we can do, we can take this strap off, the long one, then what we are left with is this small piece, and we can also take this apart, and then we have a loop right here. We can put this around the loop in the case like this, and then we can attach the strap like that, and then that's the way to attach it. A bit convoluted, but that's what we know from the Germans. They made it quite hard to attach a strap. And then of course on the other side you pull it through just like this, and then you go on the other side with the extension. So these are actually quite rare, these straps, for the case at least. So I have an original one right here. They are quite rare. They are really nice though if you can complete your bakelite or leather case with this. Then the Dienstglas itself also has a lot of accessories, which I have most of the variations of right here. So if we have the glass, then of course we have a carrying strap. So this is the standard carrying strap. It's a bit smaller than the one for the bakelite case. It's attached with two little lugs right there. I believe these are the same lugs that they used on the helmet chin straps, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe they are, but I'm not 100% sure. So you attach these like this. You put the strap through the loop on the binocular, and then you just put the lock in the hole and it's attached. That's how simple it is. Then you do the other side and it's attached. So that's the carrying strap. Then the Germans also had a protective cover for when it rains. The official name is a rain cover, and this goes on top of the objective lens. Is this objective? No, this is ocular, sorry. It goes on top of the ocular lens, and it's attached to the strap of the binocular. So the strap is attached like this, like I just showed, and then the main part of the strap like that goes through the loop on the protective cover. So this goes through that little loop there. And then on the other side as well, of course, and then you can just fold it like this on top, and if you want to use it, fold it out. It stays like this. If you don't use it and it's hanging on your neck, it's like this, and no debris or rain can go in the ocular lens. So that's what this is for. There were a few different variations of this. This one, for example, is the leather one. This is the pre-war, at least a very early variation, and they all look like this. This is coincidentally a police version, Eagle K, I believe. Yeah, this is Eagle K. So that's a rare one, usually it's Eagle C. But the normal Dienstglas rain cover leather variation looks exactly like this. Then we also have a rubber variation, which is exactly the same as the bakelite one that I just showed, except of course it's rubber. So mostly these are stoned and they feel just like bakelite because the rubber is dried out completely, but this one is quite movable still, and so that's nice. Works exactly the same as the bakelite variation. Sometimes we see the straps are upside down, so it could help with use if they are upside down. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. It depends on the manufacturer. So those are the differences in lens caps. And then one more thing, this is the last thing I'm going to show. If you run around with a Dienstglas on your neck, it's going to swing around. So what are you going to do to prevent that? The Germans made up this solution. This is called a button flap. It has two legs here with the same lugs as the strap. It goes around here near the axle, then you attach it and you have a flap on your binocular. This big slit right here goes on top of one of the buttons of your uniform, and if you do that, then the binocular will be secured and the binocular will not move around when you run. So it is a good solution, but it's not the best, obviously, but at least it works. And all of these items are either marked or they're not marked. Late war variations are usually not marked. Some are, some are not. It really depends. But here I have one that is marked. So if we take a closer look, we can see right here the factory marking. And on the other side there we can see a Waffenamt. So that's the last thing I want to show about these binoculars. And I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching.